This is Wayward Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done. Of course, go to the Wayward Renegade website, see the phone number there, text me in reference to monthly lessons, one-on-one lessons, in addition to work. So understand monthly lessons, which is right now, which is going right, which has started, is different from the one-on-one lessons that I do with individuals working closely with their frequencies in addition to work. And understand work is separate. However, when working one-on-one, that sometimes comes together. But also understand that art is occultism. Occultism is a motherfucking art. And understand Wayward is about that revenge, redemption, responsibility. However, I do get text messages in reference to work, okay? Or in reference to joining the monthly lessons. I scrutinize the energies that I get in the text messages, and I can tell the pigs and the pig talkers. And anytime somebody asks me how much something costs, I know you're not about it, and I know you're not invested in yourself. A person who's invested will use a wording of, hey, I'm interested in your lessons. How can I pay? But because people under pig magic and they act like pigs and they do a lot of pig talking, this is the shit that you get. Okay? Anyway, that's just where it is. So sometimes if you don't hear back from me, it's because I know you under pig magic and pig talking. Anyway, talking about pig talking, I've been noticing on the social media platform, there's a new form of ranch people that are uprooting themselves. We call it the new cadets. And the new cadets are calling themselves luxury and etiquette occultists. I won't call them occultists. They believe that's what they are. They believe that they are debutantes, but they're really fake debutantes. Oh, and there's energies behind me as it going because somebody put in my comments, I guess dropping lugs talking about YouTube people who have background going. So I guess that needs to be addressed. So I'm going to address it. I don't give a fuck because that's life happening outside. Go look at the fucking podcast so you could be on some bullshit, but it's what it is, life. Anyway, I'm sitting back and I'm watching the frequency. And I said, okay, these individuals are on the plantation of social media trying to educate at a certain target market, which are the millennials and Gen Zs. And it's very clear the millennials and Gen Zs are hungry, and they're hungry for guidance. And more they're creating these fake cadets. It's like as if they're in a warehouse and then they keep going through certain existences. First, it was the Fashion Nova period. Now that they're getting out of the Fashion Nova period, now they want to get into luxury. And as I'm listening to the women talk, I said, they don't have a clue on what the fuck luxury is. It's all a front. It's all a facade. Okay? And they're selling wolf tickets. And I'm wondering, I said, what are they connected to? Because we also have the sorority syndrome where some of the sorority sisters were slutted out and ended up in the thing in the cult. You have some energies that involve themselves in the cult and they just keep pushing out these cadets. And more on social media, you're getting Black women who are not groomed, trying to explain how to be a woman in the luxury world. And you could clearly hear they don't have a clue of what the fuck they're talking about. What makes it bad and what makes it worse is that people see you coming because they know that you are not, how can I say, groomed. Okay? And when you sit up on social media, that's called social media bullshit, social media game. And they're going to study that they're going to know that you don't come from nothing. You don't have nothing. That's the realities of it. What is so interesting about this philosophy is the energies of Kevin Samuels being summoned. So they've been summoning Kevin Samuels to come back with certain philosophies. It's a summoning. May I'm concerned that man may be in a dungeon somewhere, still being a warlock and a wizard. Who knows? But they're trying to summon back up this certain frequency that's a falsehood. In me studying the frequencies of what I call the cadets, they are creating a false environment for Black women and Black men. And you can't say nothing to these individuals. You can't say nothing to the people that listen, because they'll listen to the good game, but that's old game. That's old shit. All they doing is reaching back into old school energies and regurgitating it and making it sound copacetic. Okay? I come from an old school of frequencies and deltas. I was in Christian charm school. I had a cotillion, debutante ball, etiquette, all of that. You wouldn't think so. I talk about this all the time, but I'm groomed. And even the Eastern stars have done grooming, all of this energy. So there's a certain energy of Black women that was under a certain background that understands the real energies of grooming and energy of etiquette and so on. However, the etiquette was within the culture of Black people, especially moving in the world. The new cadets are trying to teach an etiquette of luxury in the white world. But the luxury and etiquette is just so they can be on good behavior. But to be honest with you, what they're teaching is not what's going on in the real energies. I live around it. I've been around it all my life. I know what it is. And I could look at each of these females on social media and say that they're full of bullshit. Okay? And it seems like there's some kind of sponsorship to regurgitate all this old shit. So now they need Black people on good behavior. Black people are going to wear the luxury out. They're going to wear it out. What's happening is people are in their own tribes. So we're going to have these new uprisings of cadets that think that they're actually acting luxury. But they're not. It's just a form of spell work. It's just a form of bullshit. Okay? Back in 2019, 2018, you really start to see the push of this fake facade. Now they're bringing it back, which was, of course, what is it? The Level Up Club. And it was the Level Up Club over there in that dang Atlanta or Georgia. Then we had the online Level Up Club. So much so that it became detrimental. Now, in this universal soul, we use the word, of course, gang stalking. I don't use it. I call it a different frequency, right? And for me, gang stalking is what I call Coven lynches or Coven, Coven lynchings or Coven lynchers. And what I'm saying is that within the frequency, you have occult to occultism, occult, then a coven or a covenant. And they look towards the person with the covenant to create the coven. And then underneath the covenant and coven, you have all these Coven lynchers. And they come riding out on their red horses at you anytime you say anything, right? So what's very interesting about this frequency is the fact, let me see here. And I'm going to draw it in. Somebody forwarded me something, and my son keeps bringing this person up to me because I guess she didn't moved off of YouTube into TikTok. And I've had issues with her in the past because you remember at one time before Wayward, it was Witch Patrol. And under Witch Patrol, we was coming at even fucking with some of these fake ass witches out here or whatsoever. And that was a whole deal going on. However, the number one motherfucker, as what you call gang stalker, would be Ashura Star Goddess. I'm just going to say this shit. Okay? Because anytime you say that name, there's something that comes behind it. Okay? The reason why I'm bringing her up now is because she comes on my TikTok feed a lot. And I said, interesting. Okay, whatever. However, I see she's still up to the same shit. My son was trying to explain to me that she's very popular, especially among women. I said, oh, really? For real? Okay. And he was saying, yeah, because she gives great advice. I said, well, what advice is she giving? So the interesting thing is when I'm connecting it into the cadets, they are revamping the Ashura. I'm going to call it the Ashura effect. And I'm mentioning her because she loves to hear her name and she loves for people to recognize her. She wants you to go to her energies. The interesting thing is that when I get some of the Coven lynchers, meaning they come from Ashura, to me, is always a problem with them. Okay, 99% of them is a problem. This energy of luxury cadetism connects back into the level up frequency. Okay, what is very interesting within this cult-like behavior is, again, someone passed it on to me. So the person, I guess her channel is called Spiritual Whistleblower. And I said, very interesting. So I kind of went on and I looked at her face and I said, okay, I've seen her on social media. Okay. And I said, that sounds very Witch Patrol, but except I guess she's trying to target people who are arrogant or whatever type of certain personality, ego tripping and prideful. And I guess she's putting them out. And she was, I guess, talking on this clip of how, I guess, Ashura 7, her Coven lynchers attack people. And I said, well, she could be bullshitting the spiritual whistleblower, but I'm going to entertain her and say she's right. Okay. What I'm saying out of all of this is that we have these people with the level up energy. We have these people with the luxury cadets. But their people who follows them have mental disorders. These people are inadequate and want to be so fucking bad. And they will look at someone's beauty or how they come across vocabulary wise. And they not even noticing that what they're saying and how they talk and how they're coming across is pig magic and is pig talking. It's just game and pig talking. And the psychology is always talk slow and clear and pretend you act like you know what you're talking about. And people assume in this society, if you act passive and you come across well, that you must be right. And when we start to tap into backgrounds, you will see these people are nothing but escorts and nothing wrong with it. I will respect if you just an escort and you a high-priced hoe and you giving advice, I respect that part. I don't respect the part when you know you a hoe, you know you a escort, you know you is entertaining yourself online, you know you is selling socks, you know you is doing this shit, you know your half-brother, the sister man was cutting up, you know your half-brother, the sister man said that kids should be murdered and shit and be sexually assaulted. You know that your Coven lynchers get online harassing people like me, writing false reviews, finding every platform to write a false review. These are the people you're following because they're a cult. You guys swear this woman knows what she's talking about, but if you would have followed her back in the day, you would have known what was the real deal. Okay? Because her advice is detrimental because men have caught on to this shit. They see your ass coming, especially if you're melanated. And some of you guys follow these philosophies and sit out here and talk about it works, girl. What the fuck works? What works? In the black world, we got ignorant niggas who talk pig talk, who have created an energy with the audacity to say 50-50, or they don't want to pay for your meal, they don't want to take you out, or they don't want to give you money, and try to check you on your behavior to make sure you are well maintained and well and acting like a child. They want to scope you out, clown everything about you as a woman. You can't speak, you can't talk, you can't do that. If you act like this, act like a lady, act feminine. We are feminine. We are women. We got a pussy. We could birth children. What the fuck you talking about? Instead of worrying about what the fuck we're doing, these men need to stop being bitch asses and stop talking pig shit. Because there's one thing real motherfuckers talk about, especially white men. They said most of the time men who sit around and talk about gold diggers and being a gold digger are niggas who don't got shit, don't have shit, will not ever have shit, and not even thriving to have shit. They ain't got nothing behind them. Because a motherfucker who got something is not going to trip on a woman wanting and needing. And you know what? That is right. And you guys done sat up, be out here begging for some fucking dick and shit. Talk about you leveling up to a nigga. What the fuck are you talking about? I watched the What's Up. These women be out here with flat asses, flat titties, and looking real interesting. And they still got a man, and a man with wealth and money. What the fuck you talking about? The weird thing is that most men want you to have your natural state. And if you see a woman out here looking like an alligator or a dang lion, because they believe that plastic surgery is a form of wealth. Well, first of all, black women wasn't doing all this dang plastic surgery. We do plastic surgery because of what's going on environmentally with us, and we are dehydrated. And our souls are empty, and our diets are fucked up. And we have all these environmental frequencies and physics and velocities pulling our skin front and backwards. That's why we have to look at HAARP. We have to look at CERN. We have to look at certain radio waves, broadbands. We're out here walking under 5G electrical frequencies here. We, as American black women, we keep changing our diets to Caribbean diets, but we're born here. We're malnourished. We're thirsty. We have iron deficiency. We have pica. We are mentally stressed. We have PTSD. We're tired. And the advice that you get from these cadets and Coven lynchers is to level yourself up to whom? To what? Soft life. All this bullshit is all bullshit. In the real world, it is bullshit. But if you are on the plantation, you believe all of this, and you don't even know the background of these individuals who are under psychological warfare. When I used to get a lot of Ashura's people, like I said, it'll be on some weird shit. Then I'll pick up whatever's going on. And I ask them, do you know her background? Do you know her story? I'm getting sisters talking about, I need to level myself up. I'm not pretty enough, and I'm trying to get an Indian man. And they be dead fucking serious. I'm trying to get a white boy. A lot of trans men follow the level up philosophy. They follow the cadet energy, and all of it is pig magic. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. When you walk out into the real world, it doesn't mean nothing. Because think about this. If you walk up to a man being upfront like that with no class, no etiquette, no frequency, no substance, nothing to you, no thought, no intelligence, and the only thing you are about that money, then you get treated as so. You get treated as a dumb bitch. You're not being a Steve Harvey's wife. That's number one. Because you got to respect Margie. Is that her name, Margie? You got to respect that. That's who should be giving fucking lessons. That's a lesson. That is why I respect high-priced hoes. They know how to maneuver. Not no trans men, not no homosexual motherfuckers. None of that. When we hear these dudes out here doing a Kevin Samuel summoning, when we hear the new cadets, when we hear all this shit, we got to understand the background. Only reason why I brought up that energy with the woman, because somebody brought it to me. And I said, well, I get what she's talking about, but she has to know if she's not part of them. These people got mental disorders. They are lackluster. These people are inadequate and low self-esteem. Because I'm still trying to figure out, when are we going to talk about the darker side of that? The murders, the abuse, the sexual assaults, getting thrown out of vehicles, being put in garbage cans. These Negroes are different type of men. And world men are different from American men. We don't know. If you talking about that you trying to go get an African motherfucker, what do you know about him? You getting black women who are depending on black men, and the black men are putting them out. You want to know why black women are aging and fucked up? Because we are so desperate for a man that we will marry a nigga who got 20 kids, let that nigga live with us, and take care of him. There's a lot of audacity here. And you'll be more and more surprised it's not what you think. Oh, you're too fat. You have a wig on your hair. You're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. Your hair too short. Ooh, you're ugly. You're not talking like this. Oh my gosh, this and that. You're not feminine enough. Oh my da 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 da. At the end of the day, they not even groomed properly. They under some occult niggas that's telling them all this bullshit. And it's all a game, it's all a circle, and we keep falling for it. YouTube, social media, TikTok, all of that have people who have psychological problems. And they're looking for a way out. Black women are tired, and we just want to be taken care of. When I used to work at UC Berkeley, I'm a single mom. I have 2 boys. I'll wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, take them to the Panamanian childcare. Can't even afford that. Can't even afford my rent. walk in, drop them off, go to work. The time I get back on the train, I'm looking at all these white women going to the Giants game or A's game. And remind you, it's 5 o'clock. They looking pretty, face done, rested. I'm tired. I'm fucked up. We just need relief. It's not about choosing the right man. It's about what the fuck we go through. Not only at home, but at work. And putting on a wig and telling a woman that she's masculine ain't it. Sometimes we feel so inadequate and desperate that we just get any type of pig man. And we could be a boule type of woman. But we're desperate. And then that nigga pulls us down in pig. And black women holds the weight of the world. So when I'm hearing this new generation, millennials and Gen Zs being on this bullshit, I feel that you're psychotic. The pandemic didn't help. Sitting at home listening to all these dudes trying to tell a woman you're too fat, you're too ugly, your hair this, you this, do this. So then they created this weird energy with black women that we're getting fillers. We're changing our nose. We're changing our eyes. We're changing everything about us. You too fat to get a man. What you talking about? Most fat women got men. You need a big ass. You did. Now it's not the end thing to have all that done to you. Now that black women have fucked up their bodies. How you asking for this and you not giving up that pussy? Well, you got HIV now. You need to do a threesome. You got HIV now. Now you have degraded yourself, huh? You guys out here messing around with these Bobby and Neptune niggas. You didn't force lesbianism on yourself. And that's a lady? You got motherfuckers out here telling you when you're in an environment, when you're in a crowd or wherever, you don't speak unless you're spoken to. What the fuck you talking about? Then you ain't been around some motherfuckers. Rich people talk. Rich people socialize. Rich people drink like a motherfucker. Don't get fooled by what you see with etiquette ass shit. Because there's different forms of etiquette around the world. And most of the time, when black women or black men, we are not in them circles. They are slutting out Jack and Jill. They've slutted out Boule. They've slutted out Bougie. Now they're going to slut out luxury. You have young black women out here fucking gay men, knowing they're gay. Then going back and fucking their man. And just to understand the energies of sperm feces creates a mutant. And then the end thing is to sit up and fuck on your period. That's energy stealing, and you're creating another type of mutant. What the fuck you doing? I'm hearing pig talk of black women out here talking about that they want oral sex and they love to be licked and sucked on. They just don't want their energy stolen. What the fuck? Because there's a difference in energy. There's a difference in a woman and there's a difference in a man. And everybody is out to gain power over something. Let alone if you letting them lick on you when you on your period and lick on your ass. And you letting a man lick on your vagina on your period and you think you gaining him? He's stealing your power, bitch. You got black women on smutty ass Instagram breastfeeding their babies for fetish. That's advertisement. They've been on social media squeezing breast milk out their breasts so they're sexualized. It's a fetish. You have men asking women if they're on their period to urinate in cups with the clots and drinking it. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm telling you what they doing out here. All this shit is a biohazard. These niggas out here talking about, I don't want her to take my strength and my power and drink my sperm. Well, shit. Then stop letting them lick on your fucking bloody vagina and drink fucking bloody urine. Stop giving them your fucking breast milk, nasty bitch. Now I'm talking pig, allegedly. This is not for children. It's what it is. This is what's happening out here. Because the more you're leveling up, the more you listen to this shit, the more fetish it is. People are bored out here. They not just having sex, they having sadistic sex. It's sadistic. And the more a man or a woman have money, the more fetish they become. That's why we have to be careful with these type of energies. They're not teaching you right. When I was in freaking charm school and etiquette, I don't know what they talking about. I don't know what this is. But when you are not raised in that environment, then you are a fish out of water. But when you are raised in that environment, you already understand the etiquette and the etiquette. You know what it is. And black women, you better be motherfucking careful, especially when you're around white women who's in that world, because they are agitators. They're condescending. You be up there acting, and they be like, oh, and make fun of you, and you don't even know it. You even get some black women who can peep your whole game and know you didn't come from shit and being smart asses in your face if you don't catch it. People are bored in this universal soul that they have built sex cults, orgies, and swinging is organized sex. That's taking your frequencies from you. See, where you guys think you're free, you're really being controlled. That's why they're creating neo-cults, neo-sex cults, neo-tactrix, whatever you call it, tantrics cults, new age cults, sex cults. You can't even control your pussy or dick anymore, huh? You gotta walk in an environment to fuck. That's another reason why to get rid of online shit. Because now they want to control you, and now you're under a survey. You under a social experiment. See, they're getting bored of online shit now, porn, even social media stuff, cell phones and all of that, because all they doing is a social experiment. Now they leveled it into, hey, now let's do a social experiment. Now that we have orchestrated sex and we have more swinger clubs and all that shit. Because you're bored. Because during the pandemic, they had snuff films, snuff shit. We're going to say allegedly, but snuff. And the shit has rolled out into the frequencies from warehouses to plantations to condos. And people tune in and pay their donation to watch people get fucked up, murdered, harmed. Because it's organized and orchestrated. The pandemic created the psychopaths. So they just want to control you, not only your money, but your sex life. People are in this universal soul as empty, as an empty bounce check. You are an NSF. You have nothing to you anymore in your soul. It is so bad out here that they didn't even went back to feces magic. Do you understand? You got niggas then went, not niggas, but you know what I mean. Whatever. Niggas out here pushing feces out their ass at niggas. She keep talking pig talking. She talking like a pig. You damn right, because I'm talking pig shit. In San Francisco alone, remember all that shit that was going on with feces, and people will have a whole hot diarrhea and throw it at people and be against walls and shit and shoot out diarrhea feces. There's a woman on that Instagram that talks about that she's a dom, and she said that the person that pays her to do the dominatrix work likes to be shitted on. So he sends her Indian food. I told you about that food. He sends her Indian hot food and shit like that, pays for that. Then she takes the laxatives and so on. So I did some research in it, and the people are talking about more and more. That is what it is. And I asked him, I said, well, what is the energies of Indian food? They said because of the chili peppers and shit that's in it, the hot, and it caused, and also they said Middle Eastern foods. And I said, is it the spirit of poverty? Fuck yeah, that's a nasty ass energy. Feces magic. So you're having Amazon drivers going in people's front yards, squatting and squirting out fucking diarrhea? Do you understand if you see that shit on your video, whatever they call that, your door ring, that make you want to whoop somebody's ass? Did you see that white woman that got mad at another driver? Walked up to the car, pulled her pants down, and shit it, and all that feces come flying out like fucking Superman. And it was on the person's hood. I said, what the hell? I think I would have lost my mind. I just would have ran out the car. It just would have been a fight. It just would have been a fight. I'm fighting. And the woman, the police caught her and they handcuffed her. That's a health risk. That's wild. This is what we're into, right? The other energies, I went back and I studied Bill Gates. And I'm wondering when people are going to realize Bill Gates is not real. He's a hoax. He's not real. Everybody you guys won't get it and you don't want to get it. Bill Gates admitted he was dumb. And he also admitted he used smart people. Bill Gates come from a bloodline and they used the likes of Bill Gates, just like they used the likes of Fauci. It doesn't mean that you see them talking sensibly and talking whatever they're talking, that they are the face of what is going on. Remember, I talked about sponsors. He's sponsored and he comes from, again, a certain bloodline. It's not Bill Gates. Don't get that fucked up. It is who is sponsoring Bill Gates. And when he's talking about he's giving up his money, it's because they have took their money back from him and they don't need him anymore. It's just like Jay-Z and his school. They don't need Jay-Z anymore, either that school. So now the school is under investigation. So these people are not real like you think. It's just the likes of them being used. You have payees and you have sponsors. Some people are payees and some people are sponsors. In the energies of Bill Gates, he has sponsors. And they invested in the likes of him and they used his name for different patents, different experiments, different takeovers, colonizations, medicines, and all of that. And you guys keep talking about Bill Gates is not Bill Gates. He told you he dumb. And Jay-Z is autistic. So he has a payee and sponsors, allegedly. You guys out here trying to battle me over some little niggas I don't know, DDG and Haley Bailey. What you niggas don't get is hood business. Haley Bailey reminds me of hood business. When a woman or a young lady is angry at her man, she starts to be accusatory and starts to make up shit that he didn't do. Somebody put in my comments that two people talk about he was stalking her. And I said, well, did he abuse her or did he stalk her? Which one? Because stalking someone is not abuse. And knowing that these are Gen Zs, did he stalk her on social media? So it was cyber stalking. But how do you stalk someone who have your child? Because what everybody else is saying and people inside saying she was stalking him and watching his shit, right? But here's the lesson that I was trying to get people to understand, which some of you fail to understand. I've seen this with women before. I've seen this with young ladies before. I had a friend. Her and her baby dad, they got 5 kids together. No, I'm lying. No, they have 3. I'm sorry, she has a total of 5 kids. She has 3 kids by this dude. The dude, weirdly enough, is my kid's father's friend. Okay? Anyway, he comes, he picks up his children. They not together. He has a new woman. He takes the kids out with the new woman. She finds out about it. We're talking. And I said, well, you two haven't been together for a minute. I said, maybe he should have told you that the young lady was going. I said, just like this, maybe he should have told you that the young lady should have been there. That's it. I said, but you can't help that, right? She's all in her feelings. She's saying to me, I'm going to call his parole officer. I said, for what? I'm going to tell them that he hit me and he abused me. I said, I don't think you should do that. I said, they could put him back in jail. She said, no, I don't care because you don't bring no woman like that around my kids. I said, I don't think that's a good idea. She said, well, I already called. I said, oh my gosh. A couple weeks later, he comes to the house to see the kids and take them out. Me being a Cancer, my friend was a Leo. Me being a Cancer, you know, sometimes we accidentally say things that we don't mean to say. And I said some shit and he looked at me and he said, excuse me. And I was like, oh. He said, no, I want you to continue on what you were saying. And I was nosy and said some shit. And what happened was, to my friend, I said, yeah. I said, why did you call CPS on my friend? Because Child Protective Services, after she did that to him, somebody called Child Protective Services. And I said to him, I said, why would you call Child Protective Services on your kids to have them come take your kids from the mother of your child? He said, and I told him this, he said, I never would do no shit like that because I grew up in the system and I know how it is to grow up in the system. He said, to be honest with you, it might have been one of my loved ones who did that after she called the parole officer and they put me in jail for a day until they investigated and found that the charges were fake. I said, oh. How many times have I seen the hood shit where the young lady calls the police on a dude and trump up some charges? How many times have I seen a restraining order put on a nigga? So nobody could tell me a fucking thing about what the hell females would do when they on straight bullshit and trying to sacrifice a man. Shit, my kid's father called the police on me. He called the police because he said I wouldn't give him his clothes. You mean the clothes I bought when I was a sucker? You gonna call police on me and I bought the clothes? That type of nigga. I called him my brother. It was like, he called the police on me. He said, that suck ass nigga, I told you not to be with that nigga. I'm being real. Oh, that nigga ain't shit. I pass it along to other guys that I've dated. And I'll be like, what do you think when a man called? He was like, oh, don't tell me about people. Don't come putting that bullshit up in my fucking comments. And I could clearly see that Haley Bailey not getting her ass whooped. I know an abused woman when I see it. This is some Gen Z mess. And industry sacrifices. We're going to say allegedly. But I don't care. You say what you want to say. I know what the fuck I know. And we can say at the end of the day, both them niggas are just famous. But Haley has a Coven lynchers. AKA you guys call it, what you call it, gang stalkers. She has a Coven. And they come out to lynch Megan Thee Stallion. Somebody was trying to argue me down in my comments talking about she did do work on Tory Lanez. I said that bitch is under pig magic. She a nasty bitch. She spits at people and shits on them. She's under Asian arts. She got nasty all over her. That shit between her and Tory Lanez looked like a drug deal that went bad. I could tell there was no spell work done. That was all practical magic. And he got caught under chaotic litigation. If it's real, That shit with him and a Mexican, allegedly, if we were to just to giggles and laugh it looked like drug shit. It all looks like drug shit. And it's none of our business because it's above our pay grade. You guys don't even know the type of work that Megan and Stallion looked like she's under. How many times under chaotic litigation can you get caught the fuck up? You don't even know what the fuck happened. I've been under chaotic. I've seen chaotic litigation where they skip a whole trial and make a person go to settlement court and then rule that they pay somebody $7 million. The fuck? That's not spell work. That's practical works. That's people working under Coven lynching. Anytime you work for a public entity, you under that shit. I'm not only talking about these people who be in this shit or they call themselves famous. I'm connected to real life situations so you can understand the deal. But it's one thing I will agree with what that person said. The person said that Tory Lane's father prayed and nothing happened. Well, you can pray all you want, but if you pray in the same God, it defeats the purpose. You can't pray the same God and then I guess expect a different outcome. You cannot pray the devil and want a different outcome. They all under the same frequencies. They got you niggas out here working with one thing, one God, one frequency. They got you niggas out here under third world religions. It's not about praying and it not working. It's about what God are you under. It's like somebody, it's like a spiritual recap of this. It's like somebody was tripping with me because I said Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar. And somebody thought they was telling me something by saying in so many words, Sarah was the chosen one. Sarah was never the chosen one. That bitch was barren. That's why she made a deal with the devil. The chosen one was Ishmael. That's why Hagar got pregnant. Because you got to ask yourself, what God is that say, you know what, you can't have your baby till you're 2,000 years old. But the devil can give you a baby anytime, just like Hannah with Samuel. And that's why when they took Isaac to go get sacrificed, that God said, wrong one, I want Ishmael. Now, I understand what the preachers and I understand what you think you read. But when you really read between the lines, Sarah and Isaac were the wrong ones. Hagar and Ishmael were the right ones. And sometimes spirit will have you doing things to the left to get the results that you need. And that's why I said the only thing that separates Hagar from Sarah is religion. But I talk above your pay grade. Just like you people don't understand, you guys are running around talking about honor thy mother and father. And you think it's talking about the carnal? It's talking about the spirit that's above your pay grade. And you can argue with me all you motherfucking want. You can have your opinions. But that's why y'all fucked up out here. That's why you guys having tantrums. I'm supposed to have the first son. I'm supposed to have the first son. How do you trust a God that condones Big Frida doing a gospel song? How do you what God is that? What God says this man can have a husband, then sacrifice the husband? Talk about died of diabetes. What type of God? Because this is the same God they're all under. That you got JT from the City Girls messing around with Rick Owens and Michelle LeMay. And she's a hack. If we've been and studied her whole background. Rick Owens, I remember when he first started on the scene. He's always been interesting. These people are sponsors, but they're under the same God. They got American blacks out here practicing third world religions and going to third world pastors. And they all under the same God. They were out here talking about that Big Frida's the person she said that's her husband, his last name is Hearst. And there's a plantation in Louisiana that's Hearst that's connected to him. Then I said, well, hey, is he also connected to the Hearst with the newspaper and Patty Hearst? Because we were talking about how the name was spelled, but I forgot they be spelling these it be the same people, but spelled differently. I've talked about even with my last name it came from Israel. It changed in the middle, then it changed again once the person got to Ellis Island. You heard me, I said Israel. Just above y'all pay grade. So when you are here talking about his prayers didn't work, you better think again. What God are they under? I told you people with that Pope. There's something up with that Pope because he is a resurrection, reincarnation, whatever you want to call it. He looks like the other Pope Leo. I said Indian. I'm thinking they Italian and they are connected to Capone. Because his brother is just as dark. Are they Sicilian? What's up? Then I started thinking of Sinners and Capone and Chicago. Have y'all seen the original Pope that he looks like? I think was the early 19th century, maybe early 20th century. Look him up. And then you see Leo, his brother. Did you see over there in Saudi Arabia how Trump look green? I said, is that the latex or the silicone? And then they went and sprayed some tan shit and the chemical base turned colors. Is that what's happening? And they talking about that whole deal in Saudi Arabia was on some bullshit because it didn't go through. Allegedly. What the fuck is this shit using different sources and resources to get supposed illegals or immigrants? Going through the post office? Isn't there a federal law against that? Are we tripping? Are we not using our federal rights? But just before I get to all into that energy, Biden, didn't I tell y'all when they allegedly was at that Pope Francis funeral, you had Biden's wife with the black veil, and you also had Trump's wife with the black veil. And I said, you don't usually wear that unless your husband is dead. Now we're hearing Biden has a cancer that's life-threatening to the bone, to the root, to the tutor. Now all of a sudden, he can live for years. And he 80 plus years old. Man, that nigga dead, allegedly. Conspiracy theory. Then, now we don't know what the fuck was going on with that pirate ship, the slave ship. They didn't hijack that shit and did a terrorist attack on the fucking Brooklyn Bridge. They're trying to say it was the Central Americans that stole that shit. They're trying to say the person couldn't, I guess, whatever, maneuver it properly. That was a terrorist attack. But did you guys look at who in the hell was on that pier, though? Did you see all those Middle Easterns and Asians and shit? Didn't they look odd on the pier? And the Middle Eastern ladies start booking and running. And I'm looking at the damn pirate ship. I said, they look like they don't know how to drive that thing. This is the streets talking about who in the hell. Because they don't want to say it was a terrorist attack. And I'm finding it so interesting that they keep attacking New York. And they had that big ass Mexican flag. That is a ritual. I told you they're supposed to be letting El Chapo and them come here. It made me think about Gavin Newsom taking back Medi-Cal or whatever health insurance from the immigrants. And I'm saying that, wait a minute, during that time of 15 and 16, there was a new type of Latino people, and I kept trying to peep them, and I said, these are not people from the mission. These are some new motherfuckers. So I was discussing with my friend at the time, and she said, yeah, they all come from Oakland. So everybody I was talking to was like, nah, in Oakland, there's a whole bunch of Central Americans that's moved there, and they come to the city to sell dope. Because I noticed a whole bunch of black guys, young black guys, that looked like they were all messed up, and they started messing around with that fentanyl shit and with a touch of crystal meth. It just took them out. The dope boys and all. So we have to be careful when they're out here talking about that they're getting rid of these people. They've done their jobs. In Times Square alone, you look up in the cuts, there's a whole bunch of Central Americans, Central, not Caribbean, Central Americans selling dope. Allegedly, but we see it and we know it. Run my mouth too much, we got to keep it real, keep it right, what we see. I was looking at an energy talking about New York. I started thinking about 9/11, right? And the towers. Do you know in 1945 that there was an alleged plane crash that hit the Empire State Building, and allegedly they showed the airplane? And my question have always been, if there was a plane crash was it the Pentagon, in addition to a plane, and there was a plane, two plane crashes that hit. Where's the planes, and why aren't they on display at a museum? Am I to believe that it just disintegrated? Because even if a plane burns, the shell is still there. Where are the pieces? How come we don't see more pictures and more energies from 9/11? How come we don't see gory things like the best gore and all that shit that they would have? Body parts. How come when the shuttle, when the shuttle exploded in the 80s, where are the parts? It exploded in the universe. Nobody found any parts, metals. It didn't fly that far up. It didn't fall in the water, the parts. And I'm going over this because are we stupid? Are we crazy? And do you notice there's something tinkering away now that you don't really focus on 9/11? What? You know that they say that Mr. Netta is getting sued by Bed and Bath? For talking about that their products are good for herpes and HIV? Yeah, Bath and Body Works, sorry. Breaking news, Netta sued by Bath and Body for slandering their brand in recent live. We should stop hosting these homosexuals. I didn't say gay men, I said homosexuals. We're hosting them. And they're parasites. And they're parasites to women. Oh my God, she's homophobic. Fuck it. A homosexual is different from a gay man. A homosexual is different from a gay person. This Mr. Netta is a homosexual. And that's a parasite. Because it stands next to women and become and the women host it and become a parasite, and the parasites eat at the woman and steal her soul. I don't care. It's what it is, right? We got to look at the spell work. Just like these men who get next to women and they're parasites, suck on women's energy and then turn around and say, I'm your rich auntie. How low Tina Knowles have went when she's on a podcast with T.S. Madison. Tina Knowles is supposed to be on a talk show. They need to create talk shows and create levels. Tina Knowles should not be on a podcast. Unless the podcast is talking about book clubs. But they under that same God. If Tina Knowles is talking to T.S. Madison on a podcast and there's no echelon to it, that is lower level business. She is brought low. When I go back into time, and I was just talking about the drug energy. You know the energies happen. What is it? Is it nodal? I'm tripping. the energies with the plantation house. What's it called? Nottoway or something? Plantation? Look, there's so much gossip about that energy, and they're also trying to say that that was used as a location, as a sex place, a snuff house. They said they can't even find the people who own it. They're saying out here that there's different people name on the insurance policy. Some of them think that the reason why the house burned the plantation burned is because they want to really grow heroin and shit. Because it's warm and hot in Louisiana, is a good climate for it. Some people is saying they trying to build a Korean energy. I said, well, why don't they just give it to the natural people who own it, which are the indigenous people? Some of you out there saying that you see the ancestors in the windows and this and that. No, are you sure that you're not seeing death? That didn't look like ancestor praise. That looked like demonic death in the windows. And you could clearly see the fire was set. And I think it's very interesting that they got this Annabel doll rolling around town. And it was there on the 14th, I think, and the 15th. Then the fire happened after. I told you the energies of the Annabel, what it's supposed to be and what it's connected to. And then they have all the paranormal state going on. And then, the Conjure movie is coming back in September. I told you I've seen and met Annabelle. And I told you those Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls, they are connected to our ancestors. They're voodoo dolls. Isn't it very interesting that they allegedly brought their energy over there to that Virginia prison? And then the niggas then ran about the prison of Louisiana and started a fire. I said, well, did this damn thing suck up a goddamn arson and let the niggas out of jail? And start an arson and kill motherfuckers up in that house? Just above your pay grade. That whole thought process of hearing and shit being grown remind me, I was looking at the heat of the night. And I was looking at the heat of the night. And I was looking at, is it Carol O'Connor? And we understand that he wrote for that show. It was very interesting because his son, he was a heroin addict. And then his son died, I remember, I think in the late 90s or late 90s. And they said a heroin overdose, and now they're saying suicide, right? And then he got knocked out. And I'm wondering, I said, what happens to the heat of the night? The monies and shit like that if you knock out, because Carol Connor only had one son. But me saying all that, there was an episode, and I think it was either 91, 92, where they showed how crack entered Sparta. And when crack entered Sparta, everybody was getting high. And I said, damn, that is true. Who and what government CIA motherfucker sat up, hired niggas and white folks to go into neighborhoods, set up shop, and get niggas high? What is the real energies of New Jack City? Who is behind them? Allegedly. This is not a situation like, you know what? I'm a mastermind. I'm going to come. Nah. If you guys can find that episode, The Heat of the Night, with Sparta and how everybody got high and how they just infiltrated. The new infiltration is to own a liquor store, a gas station, a medical facility, and so on, and be on a low selling and selling to certain people. It's a whole mess. Allegedly. And somebody brought to my attention, they said, how come they don't show shit like that anymore? I said it'd be very interesting because they need to, of how really, really, really how they set up shop with fentanyl and crystal meth. And now how they got people back on crack. Did you see that shit? How they was talking about, allegedly, there's more than one person talking about how all these women in Detroit are coming up pregnant and the women are on crack. Smoking crack. In Detroit. Just like in Florida. They selling crack. I said, what in the world? They're going backwards in time. There's this movie coming out called Weapons, where I guess the children ended up missing in town, but it's based off of a true story, allegedly, of children being stolen or disappearing from the floor of a hotel. A hospital. The babies, they said the babies just went missing. Isn't that scary? Somebody go to a hospital and all the babies are missing. Then where did those babies go? So it's like a movie similar to that. Mission Impossible is coming out. That's star power. My son said, I think he gonna die. I said, oh, Tom Cruise. I know what you did last summer. I know who's pushing that, because we didn't see how many. We went to go see Final Destination. I'm not going to go through it. I just found the Asian effect very interesting in it. It's showing you the frequencies of the world and media. But what really stood out to me were two things. The MRI machine, of how in the fuck do you put our fleshly bodies in an MRI machine, and it's a fucking magnet? Call me ignorant, I didn't know. I thought it was radiation. I didn't know. That's worse enough, right? I didn't know it was a magnet, and if you take it to its highest point, it could fuck you up. And it's, what the fuck? Do you understand how detrimental that is to our bodies? Do you know that messes up the spinal fluid? That stood out to me in the movies. What also, in the movie was Final Destination Bloodline. They killed all them motherfuckers. I was actually surprised. They killed all them motherfuckers. Anyway, I didn't told the business. So, who also got me was Tony Todd from Candyman. They took his life force for that movie. And my son looked at me, he said, Mom, he bad, he dead. I said, I know. And when he took and picked up that goddamn box and went in that room and didn't come out, my heart dropped. I said, oh. Then I got scared. You like, bitch, you a witch, honey. I'm a scary witch. Don't be doing shit. Don't let me see nothing. I'll talk to you from a distance. And I've seen some shit, and I'll get to running. I'm not going to play. I'm not one of them to go demand. I ain't demanding shit. I'm running. You see how they're going to have a Hunger's game? That allegedly they're going to create some shit that violates one's human rights issue and discriminatory. Do you know that's discriminatory to create a reality show for someone to chase a fucking citizenship? Did y'all hear about that? And it's through the Department of Homeland Security, but it's supposed to be the Hunger Games dude supposed to be behind it. And the Hunger Games dude is coming out with a new movie called The Long Walk. It reminds me of, what is it, Black Mirrors. This is a human rights issue. But this is what happened during the pandemic. We became sociopaths. We became psychotic. We became sadistic. That we want to see people pain. We want to see people suffer. We want to humiliate, embarrass, and bully. Now that's the devil walking the earth. I want to go back to these Hindus for a moment. And some of these Asians. I'm relooping because I need you guys to see something that's fucked up. Remember during the affirmative action, now this is what you call white-collared witchcraft. Under this white-collared witchcraft, they played a cold game with us, as Black people and Latino people. What they did, and remember I talked about how on their identifications, they're saying that they're Black, they're saying that they're Latino, and all of this, right? So do you guys remember when it came out with affirmative action, they were saying that basically Black people and Latino people, we're subpar and we shouldn't be accepted in Ivy League schools because we're being accepted in Ivy League schools due to affirmative action, and we really don't have the mind and energy and we struggle? Well, how about that was not Black people, and for sure it wasn't Latin people. It was really the Asian people, and number one, the Hindu Indians and some Chinese and Koreans that really wasn't doing very well in school. But on some of their identifications, especially the Chinese coming out of China, some of them will put, remember I said Hispanic or Latino? But they wasn't doing good in school. So the stats would show the Latinos not doing good in school, but it's not the Latinos, it's really the Asians. Then you wonder why they have all these programs. Okay, then, because we already know that white kids, they're not very smart at times, allegedly. However, but they have a bloodline that helps them through. However, the Hindu Indians are saying that they're Black and they're not doing good in school. So, under the stats, it will show that Black people not doing good and Latin people not doing good. These stats are not made up, and what's on their IDs, there's no lie. And then what they'll do is go back and get a different ID and then have their real identity or say that they're white. So they have an argument when they say that Black people are not up to par and we are using affirmative action. That is because these other cultures have came in and so mounted our souls onto them, and they have revamped and created our history as their history and so mounted us. And they literally have became us. While we around here not paying attention, they didn't sat up and now they're us. And then went under our identity and got stats to prove that Black people are basically NSFs in Ivy League college, but it's not us, it is them. Because they have used the likes of us in our identity, and the same thing with the Latin community. And they will say, you can't prove this. Okay. And then they go back and change it. They're talking about this all the time. Talk to some of them. I forgot I'm in mixed company. They even out here creating false Black history by saying black men were the first one in dresses in underground clubs, dressing as women and having a whole shindig going on, which is so untrue. And we all know, remember I talked about the brothels and madams? And a lot of them were men, but where does it come from? Being sexually assaulted by whom? And stop saying them dang orange-headed white people are dang black. They're vicious. Their ancestors are vicious. Especially in Ireland. Y'all better watch Saturday Night Live. They on some discrimination ass shit. They be out here saying some fucked up shit about black people, black American people, as if we're lazy and we don't work. And you got to look at the scope of who in the fuck is writing this shit. And you know that Pop the Balloon is, what is it? Isn't it written or something produced by a third world person? And the spiritual constituents was showing how they're choosing men and women, but we're gonna say from the asylum and jail and prison system. Did you see how Kamora Simmons is coming back with fabulous life after she done sold her daughters and got sponsors? Y'all seeing them tornadoes and stuff happening? Weather? Y'all seeing this shit going on with Shay and Bria, the autistic girls? Y'all seeing how her aunt or their aunt son then allegedly jumped off the bridge? Did y'all hear about Shay having seizures? Didn't I tell y'all? Didn't I tell y'all? You want fame? This is what you get, huh? And there, I said, I wouldn't, and I told somebody, I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they do plastic surgery on Shay, make her lose weight, she come back as somebody else, and we don't know that it's Shay. Because that little girl can sing. Didn't I tell you guys that she started malfunctioning and stimming? She was overly stimulated because they keep putting rituals on her. And I knew they was putting rituals on top of Shay. Having her under a certain ritual. Now all this is happening. And some people allegedly saying that, I don't know. I don't know the girl passed. I don't know she's in the hospital. It's all crazy. You guys know who I'm talking about, those autistic girls. It's a mess. Right? Anyway. Are y'all hearing how they didn't sat up and paid for all these plastic surgeries, gave these people Medicare, Medicaid, and shit to get plastic surgery, testosterone and estrogen, but now they need for real medical care, dental and shit like that, and it doesn't cover nothing, and now they're complaining because they're like, well, it paid for our surgeries. How come we can't get dental care? I was just talking to a spiritual constituents who need dental care. They were talking out here. If you have HIV, you may not have good medical care in your city. or AIDS. I said, damn, this has been going on for a minute. But that's why they have philanthropy and donations and charities. That's why, especially in California, they had a special energy for people who had AIDS and HIV. And they'll get on Medi-Cal. It didn't matter if you was man or woman or child. And then you were supported by the charity. What happened? Anyway. The Diddy and Casei case. Can we come to the conclusion that the case that we're looking at right now, that she's been on the stand for 4 to 5 days, is the first case of why she got a settlement? We are looking at the case. She sued that nigga. She sued Puff Daddy. And we're looking at the lawsuit. You guys are sitting up in them overflows listening to the suit. This is why it doesn't make sense. Anyway, this is Wayward Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done.